Apple Inc. has been an icon in American industry over the last 3 decades. CEO Steve Jobs did a remarkable job turning around the company that was nearly bankrupt in 1996. However, after his death in 2011, the question arises: how sustainable is Apple's position in its various product markets? Historically, Apple has tried to bring simple and easy-to-use products to a large market of consumers. Near the beginning, Apple focused on producing low-cost computers and merging with IBM to develop an operating system on an Intel platform. However, they were not successful in these early years, so when Steve Jobs became the CEO, he refocused the original strategy for Apple. He wanted to control software, hardware, marketing, digital asset management, retail strategy, and product differentiation. These became their competitive advantages. Since then, with the change in market, his strategy has evolved. Apple's retail concept implements direct selling, the creation of first-hand experience to customers, customer education, and after-sales service. In addition to that, Apple is now highly integrated in popular culture. Through branding and advertising, they have made owning an Apple product trendy and fashionable. With these advantages, Apple has gained a positive reputation, loyal customers, and large profit margins. Corbin, can you elaborate on the history of Apple in the PC industry?
Apple Incorporated's struggle in the PC industry during the mid-1990s brought the company to the brink of bankruptcy. This can be tied to their inability to manipulate Porter's 5 forces. Porter's 5 forces include threat of substitutes, buyer power, threat of new entrants, supplier power, and degree of rivalry. The first of these forces are threat of substitutes. During the 1990s, buyers began to switch from powerful brands such as HP and Apple to generic options known as white box PCs. The majority of white box PCs were sold to consumers with small offices or home offices, who looked for design and mobility in addition to affordability. In 2010, there was a decline in sales of PCs due to the introduction of the iPad. The second of these forces is buyer power. The 5 categories of buyers include home, small and medium-sized business, corporate, education, and government. The majority of PC consumers were price-sensitive, which increased the appeal of netbooks. The arrival of ultrabooks, which were high-performance PCs, raised the standard for the industry and increased demand for better performance in all PCs. The third of these forces is threat of new entrants. Game consoles and smartphones have become a threat in recent years because they now possess some of the more popular abilities of PCs, such as internet access and DVD playback capabilities. The success of the iPad tablet began to draw consumers away from traditional PCs as well. The fourth of these forces is supplier power. Intel and Microsoft are the 2 main suppliers of microprocessors and operating systems, which makes them powerful. Microsoft operating systems run on over 90% of the world's PCs. Intel's microprocessors make up about 80% of the CPU market. Suppliers of disk drives and memory chips are less dominant and more competitive. The last of these forces is degree of rivalry. Rivalry in the PC industry exists when there are many producers of the same product who compete in price and performance to gain an edge. On the other hand, operating systems and microprocessors have very few successful producers, which eliminates the need for competition or rivalry. The genius business strategies of Steve Jobs have made Apple a dominant force amongst the producers of PCs, MP3 players, and smartphones. The question now is whether or not Apple's competitive position is sustainable. Nelson, what are your thoughts on the matter?
Well, Corbin, let's examine how the PC market got started and the direction it has taken. Although Apple pioneered the first usable personal computing devices, IBM was the first to mass-produce personal computers and put them out in the market in the 1980s. Then, in the 1990s, Microsoft Windows and Intel, aka Wintel, emerged as a new industry standard, and thousands of manufacturers, such as Dell, entered the market. The demand for PCs grew as companies found ways to lower the price and increase the PC's capabilities. As the new millennium rolled around, there came a high demand for the internet, and emerging markets and economies such as China continue the fast-paced growth of the industry. By the year 2015, experts say that there will be over 2 billion computers in use worldwide. As of 2011, HP, Dell, Lenovo, and Acer now own over 50% of the PC market. The drop in the average selling price is something that these top manufacturers and Apple contend with. Within the last several years, the normal depreciation of PCs and the production of cheaper, faster, and high-capacity microprocessors, the brains of the PCs, are being developed at an alarming rate of 16 to 24 months, and alternative devices like the iPhone are also contributing to the decline in average selling price. Now, can Apple keep its competitive position in the PC market? Answer: absolutely. Apple's differentiation strategy is the reason. The same strategy that Apple started with in 1976 has made it immune to many of the problems other manufacturers have faced. The Apple brand has become iconic and is associated with innovative thinking and having their own signature operating system that can run Microsoft applications, and offering services like the cloud for digital storage has given Apple a huge advantage over others. These resources, combined with their ability to reinvest in its R&D to invent products like the iPod and reinvent products like the tablet that complement their PCs, have made it successful. While others are struggling with the drop in average selling price, Apple's thriving under their leadership that invests heavily in marketing, which promotes Apple's unique trait of being the first to bring a product to the market. These resources and capabilities equal to value.
So, Tamia, can Apple's competitive position in MP3s and smartphones be sustained?
Apple's lines of smartphones and MP3s are a major part of their business. So much, in fact, that at one point it accounted for almost half of their total revenues. With Apple's major stake in its computer electronics, that is an important question that we need to closely examine. With its revolutionary all-in-one smartphone, the iPhone, Apple maintains record-breaking sales that increases in units sold by tens of thousands every year, and the profitability of the iPhone only increases as it reaps greater gross margins every year. Although it faces staunch competition from the Android interface and from smartphone competitors such as Samsung, HTC, and Motorola, it maintains a market control with its iOS software, and its popularity and units sold doesn't show signs of slowing down anytime in the near future. Couple popularity with an aggressive business strategy, and Apple will maintain its advantage as long as anyone can project in its line of smartphones. How exactly does Apple maintain such a strong advantage? Apple maintains its advantage in smartphones mainly through a product differentiation, but it attempts at a cost advantage as well by lowering on previous models as it progresses through generations by packing the latest technologies into their latest products. Apple's success and competitive advantage can be part of its own product's demise. Although Apple continues to redefine and revolutionize the industry with its smartphone and MP3s, its original standalone MP3 line, iPods, have suffered and are being transitioned out by their own smartphone and tablet line. Although the iPod seemed to have lost its competitive advantage and are being transitioned out, it has been transitioned into their smartphone and tablets and will continue to be a major player in their business, although not a solitary one. iProducts such as iPhones and iPads will continue to define Apple and its competitive advantage. Errin, can you provide a SWOT analysis of the long-term perspectives for the iPad?
Of course, Tommy, but to understand what a SWOT analysis is, we must go inside a little bit deeper. When we talk about a SWOT analysis, we're talking about the strengths, the weaknesses, the opportunities, and the threats that's within a business program or within the plan itself. When we look at it, we talk about the internal and external factors. So with all that being said, let's get into it. To start things off, we want to talk about the strengths of Apple. When we look into the iPad, the one thing that stands to us is the strength of the brand. Apple's a strong brand. It's a very successful company. Another part of it that has to go with it is with it being a use. When you think of Apple, one of the main things you think about is easy to use, and that's just because it's Apple. Another part that's a strength to the whole program is innovation. Each year, Apple does new things to innovate or take things to the next level. Along with that, we have software compatibility, with you able to use it wherever you go. You can use it, connect it to other Apple products. And also it has access to networks in terms of a lot of contracts with phone providers such as AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon. Now when we look into the weaknesses of Apple 2012, we can see a real weakness in the price ranges. Apple products are the top of the line, but also can be expensive, and they're also effective by the potential consumers. And what we see is a real rise in other iPads lookalikes because of this price range. And also, when you come with Apple, you expect the great quality, but also we see a trend of defective units whenever they send out their first shipments. When it comes to the opportunities, what we look for are better quality control implication. What we mean by that, we were talking about just more innovative things. They can take it to the next level, all the things they can do to help improve what they have already built a strong foundation on. And also, there are opportunities in releasing new products. So things that add on to the iPad, attachments, accessories, thinner iPad, things like that brings more consumers. And also through software applications. With the software apps that come with the iPad, it really allows them to branch out and try to reach new and broader horizons in the terms of application worlds. Lastly, when it comes to the SWOT analysis, we're going to talk about the threats. And threats within the iPad really has to do with the competition. Major brands such as Sony, Samsung, and Dell are coming out with cheaper, more affordable tablets. And the cheaper the tablet, the more people will buy. So with the price range that we see with the iPad, it's kind of tough for them to keep the high prices without the competition getting the upper hand. I know we threw a lot of data at you today, but we want you to know that Apple is here to stay. Hope you guys enjoyed our presentation and have a good one.